Thanks for being able to do this with us. I really think this is going to be just a great episode, a great resource for people, because there's so many people that that are viewers and consumers of our content that we know that they're foodies, and they always want to know, like, hey, where do you get your steaks? Where do you get your fish? All these different things. And I just think what you guys are doing, it's very innovative. But it really kind of brings the quality of like a restaurant into someone's home, and a lot of people just don't know like where to go to get stuff. So I think that this is going to be a great resource for a lot of people, and we're also really curious to hear the history, how it got started. Maybe just kind of give us the origin of the whole idea and the concept of the brand, the business model. Like, how did it all get started for you guys? And let's start there.
Absolutely. So, Meat and Bone is a child born of meat, in the sense that I love to cook. I mean, literally, the one thing I like, I feel food brings people together. And we've lived it. I mean, you sit around the grill or the oil flame. I mean, that's why I love that product. And everybody's cooking and talking and drinking, and you're just getting to know each other or sharing experiences. So me and Herman started following these guys on YouTube years ago, and we were just doing the recipes. And the biggest challenge for us was finding the right proteins. So, and unless you order it online, right, from far away, and even then it was confusing because there's not a lot of information. So my background's actually, I'm a finance guy, but my background is actually more on the education side and logistics, and luxury goods. And I wanted a concept that sort of mix that all together, make it easy for me as a consumer, right? Because it's hard. It's hard to tell if chicken is actually any good, if this beef is actually any good. You don't know. So we wanted to make it in a way that consumers could be educated, either themselves by going into our website and reading a very detailed description as to where our products come from, or by walking into our stores and it's just like buying a watch. You literally walk in and there's a counter, and you're in that counter and somebody's educating you as to what it is exactly you need. Because a lot of times people walk in thinking they need $150 A5 Japanese Wagyu ribeye, but all they may need is really an entrecote that's worth $12 or $14. And that's where the education comes in. And even like one thing that makes you amazingly and different, Rich, is that you do the research. I mean, I heard you talking about spices and I'm like, wow, I didn't know there was so much into it. But most people are not like that. Most people don't have the time or to do the diligence. So what we do is basically we do that for them. And that's the concept. I mean, we literally started off doing research. We have a lot of friends in the Midwest. We work with a friend that owns a farm called Ferry Farms. And it's actually a dairy farm. But he got us he was our connect to the farming world. And we would go up there and spend time at the lake house and listen to all the farmers talk about their animals and racing and farmer problems. And we got into it. And then how come, actually, this is a funny story. I got there, I'm driving at 3 in the morning from Detroit to the lake house where we were going to stay. And I get there and I open the fridge and of course there's nothing. And then I open the freezer and I see a ribeye. I'm like, well, I guess it couldn't have been here for too long. Pull it out, cook it. It was the most spectacular steak I had in years. Turns out it was 3.5 years old and it had been frozen there forever. He just kind of forgot about it. And I'm like, Why am I in Miami not able to get something of this quality from the supermarket when this guy has a 3.5-year-old ribeye that is probably the best ribeye I've eaten in this year? So that was the day I called Herman and I'm like, dude, we're starting a butcher shop, but it's going to be different. It's going to be on demand. It's going to be online, and it's going to sort of mix the luxury and education aspects. And he's like, I'm in. So we started going as we developed the concept, and then we brought Gabriel in, who is the third business partner, and he's more of a tech guy, and we've done a lot of work together in the past, so we work really well. So one thing that brings us together is food. We barbecue together for the last 15 years.
Wow. So now, Luis, did you start off with the brick and mortar, or did you guys start off with like a delivery model first? What was the sequence of that?
We started off with the online,
Okay.
Which would be delivery and shipping. And then people started showing up at our warehouse, and they're like, "Oh, we want to buy meat." So we're like, "Oh, all right. How do we address this situation?" So that's how the boutique started to be born. And then How do we make it different? So things we learned, for example, where when you walk into the supermarket and you're picking something from the refrigerator, it's you should get 35, 36, 40 degrees. That's not the ideal temperature to have your proteins at. You actually want to be closer to 30. Or even lower without freezing, but just right there. And that's going to extend the shelf life. So our whole concept took all of that into account. That's why you walk into our stores. There's no fridges, not that you're going to see. They're all in the back.
So my first experience with you guys was we were down in Miami doing an event, and Chris and Mariano and some of the team members, we kind of went out for dinner one night, and we went to your place, and then the brick and mortar Meat and Bone was like a couple doors down or like right next to it. And I was like, when I walked in, I was like, wow, this is really different. This is very cool. And it was almost kind of like a boutique, high end, like you had a concierge for meat and somebody that could explain to you what you were buying. And you guys had a lot of really cool, interesting, like spices in there, some different pieces of equipment for like grilling, torches. And it was, I mean, for anybody that likes to cook outside, or even inside for that matter, and they like really great restaurant quality proteins, it was fun. It was kind of like a kid in a candy store. And of course we got to taste some of the product, which was great. And that was kind of where it all started. And since then, our collaboration has evolved, and you guys came up to Virginia and checked out one of the barbecue classes. And I think too, for a lot of people that don't realize, your product really is the same caliber as like what you would get in a restaurant. I mean, if not better. I mean, a lot of restaurants can't even get their hands on a lot of those higher grade proteins. So do you guys ever run into issues with like getting some of this? I mean, there's only so much prime and Wagyu. I mean, what are some of the challenges as far as like being able to fulfill all of this robust product line that you guys have?
So, I mean, I remember exactly the day you guys came in. You guys came to the Wagyu Bar and had some steaks, and that's exactly the concept. It's very boutique, and the stuff that we try to procure, usually you won't find at most restaurants. Right. It's a little bit too high end. The way it works for us is mostly because it's all integrated and we move the quantities, but logistics are a challenge. I mean, and what we do is we work with boutique programs, smaller programs, and we do mix and match them to make sure that they meet our standards. We go out, we meet them, we research them, we look at how they feed their cows, who's inspecting them, what plants they're processing, and we come up with a list of different farms and plants that we will work with. We haven't had a lot of issues in terms of supply because it becomes a relationship, right? I'm always sourcing from them. So they're not necessarily having to go and place it elsewhere. There's some programs where we're almost buying everything they make. And then we start looking for a program that's very similar to them, that's almost the same quality or superior. And then we mix them. So that's why we came up with not our own grading standards, but when we present products to our consumer, I'm not selling you a brand. I'm selling you, hey, this is the kind of beef you're buying. This is where it comes from, because we do try to stay within the same geographies. And this is the marbling, and this is how this steak sort of was processed. And that's how we've solved our logistics issue. But for the most part, we have really strong relationships with really strong partners, and they take care of us because we take care of them.
Luis, I have a question about you were mentioning that some of your background is education. So what was the feedback when Meat and Bone first opened the store? And at the same time, because we know how the Miami population is, and I'm pretty sure it's very, very difficult to educate. When I say we, for coming from South America, we are really kind of like stubborn. And we know that if we don't try something, it's going to be really hard to trust. And so how was that process whenever you first opened to start educating people? What was the biggest challenge whenever you were kind of like stepping on that?
So it was a gamble, right? What we did was we built a brand. So we're not out there selling meat or reselling meat. We literally built a brand with products that we know are the quality is spectacular. So as you said, the biggest thing is having people try it. So it in terms of the education, it was showing it off, working with. We would go out and grill at different events. We actually still do this. We have a program called the Grill Master, where one of our guys goes and cooks at your house, and he's fully insured, he's trained, he does everything. But then it's relatively inexpensive, and all you're doing is getting our steaks cooked perfectly, and then you can taste the difference. And once you've tested it, it's amazing. I mean, our customer retention is actually over 70%. Wow. So pretty much most people come back. The challenge is that first time. I mean, why do I not buy my ribeye at my local grocery store? Why go to you? And the answer is, you got to try it. It makes a big difference, especially in the US. We live in a country that's so great, and a country that's so focused on optimization, right? That even farming, we've turned it into a science, where we have these confined animal operations where all the cows are stuck in a farm eating, getting fat as quick as we can. And we are sacrificing quality for price. So we flip that around and we say, you know what? I'd rather you eat less beef or less of anything, but have a better quality. And it's going to be better for your health, but it's also going to be an experience. I mean, an eating is an experience. I mean, people ask me, what do you work for? I work to eat. I like to enjoy new things and go to new places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Rich was mentioning also about that whenever he first came to Miami, we went and dined in one of your restaurants. If you can talk a little bit more about what the restaurant name is and where people can find it. If there is any project, I don't know. Andres, am I allowed to say that? No? Okay. So is there any new project coming on soon with any other new opening or anything like that?
So yeah. I mean, we've got some fun news. The restaurant is called the Wagyu Bar. And the idea is we wanted a space. Typically, steakhouses are all about the fluff, right? It's huge build outs, the sommelier, which is, I love to be pampered, but at the end of the day, a lot of times you end up getting a relatively cheap steak. We wanted to flip it around, have a very casual setting, good service, because you still want good service, but have the best steak at every price point. So when you walk into the Wagyu Bar, and they're actually quite defined, you have a high choice ribeye all the way to a Japanese A5 olive fed Wagyu. We actually have Kobe wine fed right now as a special. We have Miyazaki Gyu. I mean, our menu is insane. We have so many cuts, and the concept has picked up very well. I'm happy to say it's doing well, and it sort of complements the store. So we're actually trying a new concept in Aventura, Florida, which is a little bit further north from Miami, about half an hour. And we're opening a Wagyu bar over there. And inside of a Wagyu bar, we're going to have a meat and bone boutique. So we're bringing them two together. Kind of an experiment. We're hoping it goes very well.
That's amazing. That sounds pretty cool. Since the name is Wagyu Bar, I'm pretty sure that all of you are really dedicated to learn about that and to educate people about that. Can you tell us a little bit more about this hype that we're living about Wagyu? Because probably all of you know already that there's many people selling Wagyu when it's not Wagyu, or they're telling you that there is Wagyu A7 when probably that doesn't even exist. If you can tell us a little bit more about that, that would be awesome.
That's exactly Miami right now. I mean, there's so many people just reselling stuff that they get. I mean, there's about 6 stores reselling the same product under different names. And it's because we don't know. Even the guys selling it don't know. And Wagyu, at the end of the day, it's just a breed. And it's not even a breed. It's literally Japanese cow. That's what it means. And there's 4 breeds that make up that Wagyu composition. We actually worked with the government of Japan recently to write a Wagyu 101 primer, where we went in that because the Japanese we're almost offended that people want to call everything Wagyu. To us, it's really an art. And an A5 steak, which is the highest grade there is the top 1% of the 1%. This is the best of the best. Wagyu, as I said, is just a breed, just like Angus can be. If you ask me, my personal favorite steak is actually a Midwestern USDA prime ribeye. I mean, to me, that's what I'm into. But Wagyu is just a breed. It's got the genetics where it marbles incredibly well. It's got a different texture. It's got a different flavor. And what we do is we mix them up. I mean, genetically, right? I mean, farmers today are cowboys that are playing chemistry and geneticists. And these guys are mixing Angus with Wagyu cow. So a lot of the Wagyu that you see out there, it's actually a crossbreed. And some of them are excellent and some of them are not. But it really depends. It's not even only the breed. It's what are they fed? Are they treated with love? Because if you respect the animals and you give them a good life, they're actually better off. It's the weather. I mean, are you growing them in Florida where it's hot and you can barely stand outside for half the afternoon, or are you doing it in the Midwest where the weather is more conducive to that? And that's why you go to Japan and you take the exact same cow and you take it to Australia and to the US, and you're going to get 3 completely different steaks, different color, different marbling, different texture, different flavor. And it is because the feed, the environment, the weather, and the way they're raised, it's all part of the equation. So it's very complicated, probably more than what we have time for, but we actually wrote a lot on our blog post, on our blog about Wagyu.
Where can people read about that?
At our website, meatandbone.com.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody, I want to take a second to say thank you to our sponsors. This show is brought to you by the following partners. Meat and Bone. These guys are just doing an exciting thing in the Miami and Florida area. Check out their website. They offer premium quality meats hand delivered to your door if you live in the Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach area. But also they ship nationally, and you can also visit them at some of their boutique locations in the Florida area. These guys came up to our recent barbecue class, and they brought all sorts of amazing cuts of meat, steaks, brisket. Listen, if you're looking for quality steaks like you would get in a restaurant, check these guys out. They've got some incredible selection and top-notch quality. Check out their website. Also, Ovention oven. These ovens are just incredible. We've used these during the pandemic. They really helped us kind of pivot and reposition ourselves so that we were able to expand our menu without having to make expensive investments in the kitchen. These ovens offer an innovative solution to restaurant operations, opening up a whole new realm of possibilities with your menus. The Ovention ovens are ventless, they're fast, and operationally friendly in cooking. What we do is we program our recipes in the oven, and our cooks just press a button of the image of what they're going to cook. It's a whole new way of cooking. Check out their entire line of Ovention ovens. And of course, Steelite. Steelite International has remained an incredible partner of Rosendale Collective. They are an internationally world-leading manufacturer of award-winning inspirational dinnerware for the international hospitality industry. They've been a longtime partner of Rosendale Collective, and they're getting ready to sponsor us with some incredible tableware for our new section on Rosendale Online, and we can't wait to see what they're going to come up with. Also, check out Dry Ager. Dry Ager offers a level of unprecedented quality for both restaurant and home dry aging programs. They make the most amazing dry aging meat cabinets in the industry. They are designed with sophisticated technology. They're made in Germany, and you can get incomparable taste of restaurant quality steak in the comfort of your own home. Thanks again to our following sponsors: Meat and Bone, Ovention Oven, Steelite International, and Dry Ager. Now, back to the show. I was impressed with some of the material that you sent along with some of the products that we ordered. I know even when I was down there in the store that you guys have a lot of great collateral print material that really is almost kind of tutorial for the consumer that kind of explains, hey, here's like a graph of the different grades. And I think, you know, in this day and age, I totally agree with some of the comments you made about maybe eating more of the product that is more premium or that a better quality, as opposed to, you know, if you're out there eating a steak that you just bought that's $12, there's a reason for it. I mean, it's you know, it's expensive to raise cattle, and to kind of know the origin of a lot of the product of what you're eating. I think people need to apply that principle, not even just to protein, but really to everything. You know, I mean, I had a conversation the other day with my son, Lawrence, talking about eggs, and he's like, Dad, these eggs are so good. And they were just some local farm eggs. And I was kind of explaining to him about the different colors of the eggs and the different, why the yolk changes depending on the time of year, and what the chickens eat makes an impact on it. And, you know, if people were more engaged with their food, whether you're, you know, eating plants or proteins or bread, whatever it is, there's such a big return on that. Really, not just even just for the social part of it, of enjoying your food, but also I think nutrition and health. I think it's better for you to eat products that you know the story, and it's worth it. I mean, it's what you're putting into your body after all.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, you are what you eat, and that's a fact. And the same applies to what we eat. I mean, when you talk about the fish, the cows, the chicken, the feed is so important. And I always laugh about turkey, right? I mean, you get to Thanksgiving and everybody's going crazy with turkey, and they're buying a 25-pound turkey for $15. And you're thinking, right, the farmer had to make a profit, the middleman had to make a profit, the store had to make a profit. How much was it to raise this turkey? This thing must have had the worst possible feed ever. And when you go and do the research, which I don't recommend anyone to do because you'll never eat turkey again, you realize, yes, I mean, you should pay a little bit more and maybe eat a little bit less, but have the right quality. And the same thing applies to veggies. The same thing applies, like we sell, and the marketing makes it so complex, right? Because everybody's out there to make a sale and to confuse you. And we're trying to do the opposite. And you look at seafood. You think wild caught is always better. It isn't. It depends on the species. If you go on wild and catch wild branzinos, you're basically going to kill the few remaining branzinos in the world. If you go with chicken, well, most of the chicken sold in the US comes from the same place. It just has a different label. So it makes a huge difference. But as a consumer, to be educated is quite difficult. So it takes an effort. And we try to aid the consumer in that effort.
You already mentioned what your favorite meat and bone product is, but are there any, what are some of the categories that you guys are really excited about? And because it's not just meat. I mean, you guys you have fish on there as well. What are probably some of the most popular categories? And are there any that you think are ones that people might be surprised about? Maybe a cut that, other than a strip steak, the usual suspects. Are there any that are maybe you think kind of don't get the respect that they should?
Starting with beef, I'd say Denver steak is something that everybody has to try. It's one of the most amazing, most tender cuts there are. Picanha, which I grew up eating in Latin America, is one of the most delicious things out there. And price value, it's there's nothing like it, right? I would say spending good money on a good brisket is definitely worth it, because for the amount of time that you put at home cooking that bad boy, it makes a difference.
Right.
Then we jump into seafood, and you'll be surprised. I actually eat more fish than I eat beef, and
really,
we put the same love into sourcing or seafood. We sell this Ora King salmon, which is just fantastic. I eat it raw as sashimi. Which another thing, people say sashimi grade. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's no such thing as sashimi grade or sushi grade. It's just whatever the supermarket called it. You're basically trusting whoever you're buying it from to say that you can eat this fish raw. The USDA has some standards, but they're all sort of, I mean, you're not supposed to eat fish raw according to the USDA to begin with. But yeah, I mean, we have these massive African tiger prawns that I prefer over lobster, and I'm a big lobster fan. And then we have other really cool products like the Wagyu, the Iberico pork, which is the Wagyu of pork, I like to say. It comes from Spain. It's that same acorn-fed pork. It's just amazing. I do love the ham. I mean, I could probably eat that for the rest of my life. And we have this goat cheese that's marinated. It's cheap and goat fish cheese, and it's marinated, and it's kind of like the cocaine of cheese. I probably shouldn't say that here, but it is. I mean, people walk in and they're like, "Oh my God, can I take 6 of this? Do you sell bigger buckets?" And I'm like, "No, I mean, this is it." I mean, we've taken that approach of slowly adding products. I mean, when we started, we had 20 SKUs. That's it. We had 20 things that we sold. Today we have 350.
Wow.
We just fall in love with products. I mean, like your rubs. I mean, we try them and we're like, "Oh wow, this is truly different." And we grab them and we sell them. And when people love them, we keep getting it. Our call to fame really is a statistical model that we built. That's what started Meat and Bone, and what allows us to have such a wide variety. We don't have a lot of anything. What we do is every week we forecast what we're going to sell in the next 7 days. And that's what we get in. So all of our inventory rotates every 7 days. So sometimes customers say, oh, I can't believe you don't have 30 briskets in stock. No, we don't. We have whatever we think we're going to sell that week. And if we don't, we'd rather not sell it because we don't want it sitting there just forever. So that's really our call to fame. It's a proprietary forecasting model where we forecast every single product that we sell.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and for a lot of our listeners out there too, I mean, we've sourced some of our products for various dinners that we've had that they've met our standards and guests enjoyed them. We did a Dom Perignon dinner. We used wonderful short ribs. We did a 48-hour short rib. We used the veal medallions that we did a little duo with that. And then, of course, the BTS concert, which is kind of more of a Korean influenced menu. We're using some of that salmon as well. And I like to, you mentioned like some of the different fats. And I also, I like to try to use the trim or fat from something that maybe was a secondary use. So, for example, we had a ham that has been curing for a year. It's a Berkshire ham, and we actually took all the trimming, and instead of discarding that trimming, we were making a dashi stock with it that we're going to infuse with a little bit of Japanese soy sauce, and we're going to have that as a little pipette that is going to go through some of the sushi rice and some of that salmon that you were just talking about. And it's almost just like a little nigiri, little sushi roll almost, but it has some of that umami from that aged meat, just a little bit of that to kind of lift it up. So these different qualities of the meat, they really do have nuances, like more depth of flavor. And for people that maybe they're kind of a little nervous about spending that money on a steak, they really should. I mean, try one. And it's kind of fun. I mean, I like to go to your website and you can see the different grades, and for people to maybe do a little their own mini little cutting at their house where they kind of put side by side some of the different grades or some of the different cuts. And that's a great way, as you mentioned, with education, to educate yourself and really kind of figure out, well, what do you like, and try it side by side. And, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, we actually do it at the restaurant. We offer a flight where you try different grades of the same steak. And it's funny how you realize everybody in the table will have a different favorite. Yep. And that's one thing that's always amazed me, is that, especially from men, but I should know better because I am like that. I walk into a store and I want the fanciest thing, the shiniest. But really, our best products are on the less expensive side. Like our ground beef, we only cut fancy steaks. We literally middle cuts, ribeyes, New York, filet mignon, and even our choice is G1 certified, wet aged for 30 days. It's beautiful. We make ground beef with that, and our best products are the less expensive products. But funny enough, most people don't know that, and they're actually as inexpensive as a supermarket. So one thing, and Chris, one thing we'll actually be doing soon is launching a subscription service. And we're going to focus on those. We're going to have two. One is like your day-to-day items. Like, I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I want to eat good stuff. And we're going to do one that's going to be more for foodies. Hey, I want to try something different. I want to have caviar. I want to try Ora King salmon, or I want to try these prawns that we brought from Africa. And that's what it's going to be about.
That's cool.
I'm going to try everything. My mouth, I don't know if any of our listeners out there are drooling, but I don't know if you can cut this. I'm like drooling over here. This sounds amazing. So
yeah, I'm going to have a steak tonight.
Yeah. You're located in Miami. Is that your meat and bone is in Miami, right?
We are. We have 3 boutiques, one in, it'd be like Fort Lauderdale. It's called Parkland or Coral Springs. And then we have one in Pinecrest. We have one in Coral Gables in Miami, and we're opening our 4th one with the restaurant in Aventura. But we do ship nationwide. We're actually doing test shipments to Canada right now. We've got a couple people who've been emailing us, literally harassing us for the past 2 years to see if we could figure out how to ship to Canada. And
it's awesome. That's great.
Just did.
You were talking about that you send your own chefs to do like a grill master at home. Is that like a catering division? How that working? How is that working so far? Saying that Miami was one of the probably first cities in US that started to recover and getting back to normal if we can call it after COVID.
Yeah, I like to say that Miami never really got COVID, or we just didn't recognize it. And it's wild when you would try. I had the chance to travel around the country during COVID, and it was quite a stark difference. But the grill master service was mostly marketing thing. People would go out, or cooks would go out and grill for you and a group of friends, and then people started getting fancy. Hey, I like to do this, but more on a private setting, and I'd like to invite it, or I like to do it for my wedding. And I'm like, well, I can't send a guy in shorts and a t-shirt and a hat like this to cook for you at your wedding. So we started developing a catering concept, which we just launched, and it's called Get the Cook. And basically, it's an elevated experience. I'd like to say it's similar to what you guys do, but you guys are amazing. But we're getting there. And it's that concept. We work with our proteins, and we send a private chef or a team to cook at whatever they're required to cook. But the idea is, and it always goes back to the roots, right? We want people to try our proteins because we're really proud of them.
So is that more like in houses, or can it be at events? I mean, do you guys have a range that you prefer to stay within as far as that service?
We do South Florida. We focus on South Florida, but it's really anything. I mean, we're doing some pretty big events actually in the next couple of months, if they work out. So I'm crossing my fingers. Those would be our first ones. We've done we did some big events for Art Basel last year. But we're starting to separate it a little bit. So Meat and Bone remains a butcher shop, and Get the Cook focuses a little bit more on the catering and our customers who wants actually stuff that's cooked.
Have you guys, I mean, I know just from like with our restaurants and events that over the last year and a half, particularly proteins have really been soaring. Do you guys deal with that as well, struggling with trying to find that balance with like supply chain and fuel prices kind of impacting the cost of what this used to cost now is like 30-40% more? Or do you feel like in the high end market that it hasn't impacted the prices as much, or is that also a challenge for you?
Oh, it absolutely has. I mean, we've seen an increase in protein prices of over 50% in some cases.
Wow.
It went up. It kept going up until December. It's come down a little bit since then. It's challenging. I mean, gas is an issue. Transportation is an issue. Trucks are an issue. We have been able to see it coming from far away because we work so close with our suppliers. They're telling you, hey, I'm buying feed more expensive than I was buying it before, so eventually I'm going to have to raise your prices. So we work together, and we figure it out. And then what we try to do is see where we can make savings without impacting quality. And a lot of times that's meant we lower our margins or do things a little bit different, not to impact the end consumer.
Well, I can see why you guys maintain your customers. I mean, I was really impressed with the quality and the integrity of the packaging, because people don't realize it's like, when you go and you order something and it gets shipped, you think like, oh, that's not really an experience, but it is. I mean, I've ordered stuff from places where maybe things weren't really, they were getting all jostled around in the box and maybe something's damaged, but I mean, we've had products sent and it's been really optimal temperature. Everything packaged, you could tell with a lot of care and attention. The packaging, you get some extra little tutorial, like, information that you put in there. So I think your experience, like from what I experienced when I was in Miami, that's been consistent when we've ordered stuff as well. So you guys have really, you can tell you've done your homework with all that from the start to finish, right to your door. And that's not an easy thing to do. And it's not an inexpensive thing to do. I mean, you look at how much packaging costs and everything. And I was really impressed with that when we had our last delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. There's somebody that I know that's very dear to me that says you can't cheat price. And at the end of the day, the price of shipping is going to be included, whether it's free shipping, quote unquote, or whatever, you're paying for it, right? You're also shipping meat across the country. So a lot of times people are like, why does it cost $50 to send something from Miami to California? I'm like, dude, think about it. You're grabbing beef, putting it in a container of some sort, packing it, and sending it across the country. That's something that 30 years ago was unthinkable. Now we do it. And the reason we do it well is because we don't cut corners. We do everything by house. We haven't outsourced anything. Every single order gets packaged in-house. So it's our guys checking. Do we make mistakes? Yeah, about 2%. That's actually a running rate. And I'm very proud of the team for getting it that perfect. But we also work with like UPS and FedEx, right? And I'm a former UPS employee. That was my first job. So they'll always have a soft spot in my heart. Those guys work hard. And that 97% sounds super high. Where that means out of 100 boxes that we ship, 3 are going to have an issue. Somebody tossed it from a truck, it got lost, something happened. That's part of it. So it's part of educating the consumer. Those are the risks, and it will happen. I think the key thing is we stand behind it. If something happens at the end of the day, whether it was UPS or it was a customer or it was somebody, we try to stand behind it and always make it right for the consumer. We want them to have a positive experience. And because they can't walk into our boutique and meet us face to face and see my great smile, we have to do it on the packaging. And that's why we've put so much effort on making sure they get the collateral, and they get a little letter that thanks them for their business, and the nice looking bag and the most beautiful steaks that we can get for them.
I think that makes all the difference in the world too, is receiving those little extra things, like a little thank you note, or just the way things are packaged makes all the difference for the consumer. And like you said, Chef Rich, it makes it more of an experience. Even though you can't get in the storefront and be face to face, you're still having what feels like a connected and shared experience with, yourself.
Yeah, we actually follow up with our customers like 7 days later. We'll send them a text message and they think it's an automated machine. And we do rely on technology. But if you reply, a lot of times it's me replying to these text messages saying, hey, how was your steak? And people will send us videos and pictures and reviews. It's beautiful. And what people, I think, are realizing in this new age is that the more you communicate back, if the brands care, and we're one of those brands that do care, it's going to be an even better experience for you.
And that's the kind of, that's who people want to work with, is the consumers want to work with people who are going to care and go the extra mile, check in a week later and see how your steak was. That's what the consumers want. And it makes all the difference, and it makes it more of an experience. And that's awesome.
And too, I think that what you guys are doing, and the only way you can do this is if you put in the work, and that is to build a relationship with your customer. And you can't fake that. You can't just be like, we just want more customers, and then whatever happens, they'll come back. And I mean, it's like when you're almost kind of like the concierge for sourcing. These are the best possible products in all these categories, and you're getting this. And I knew that even when we first got introduced to you guys. I mean, just from looking over your website after our visit there, I could tell from looking at a lot of the proteins. I was like, okay, somebody here is really curating what is being sold. I mean, even like with the caviar, Sterling caviar is really, I mean, it's out of California. And what you're getting is a caviar that is coming from them, from the source, to you guys, out to the customer. A lot of things like caviar, people are putting labels on, and it's imported from somewhere else, and they're selling it as, they're not really being authentic. They're kind of like relabeling stuff, and it's so easy to do that. But as a customer, it's nice if you feel like you found somewhere where there's credibility. There's somebody that you trust, that I mean, my mom wants to go and order a steak. I mean, she can call her son and get his opinion, but she's not going to know. She's going into a grocery store. She's going somewhere. She doesn't know where that came from. I mean, am I buying what I think I'm buying? So I feel like that's something that there's great trust with the consumer, that they can go to a place and they know that this is legitimate. What I'm paying for is actually what I'm getting. And people would be surprised, like how many places out there that are really there's like a little bit of a gray area there where they're not really being upfront about, they're manipulating the messaging to sell something when it really isn't quite what it is. So you guys, I think you really have done a good job building that trust with the consumer.
Thank you. That's what we built our business on, and we've tried. I mean, you have no idea. for example, the picanha A5, I had never seen it ever. We literally imported it from Japan, and turns out you have to get like this massive combo, which is like 100 pounds of A5 beef, to even get a couple picanhas out of it. And then we took all these pictures and we were so proud of it. 2 days later, our picture shows up at another website of somebody selling meat, and they're selling a Wagyu picanha. And I'm like, first off, it's our picture. Second, you don't have that picanha. You're selling a domestic Wagyu picanha, which may be really good, but it doesn't close or resemble the product you have in the picture at all. So one of the things we do is people think, I actually take all the pictures myself of every product that comes in. And we try it, we see it, we eat, we discuss it, and then we say, okay, this is something we can sell or we can't. And that's literally how we've built our product list. And you're absolutely right. It's tough to educate yourself. So you have to rely a lot of times on people like us to do the homework and go all the way down to the farms or the producers or even whoever cuts it and packs it, to figure out if it's really what it is. Because it's like fish. People think all the fish has never been frozen, and you're in the middle of a US where there's not even the sea nearby. Of course it's been frozen. I mean, it's been flown in from somewhere. So it's a tough world in terms of information.
I think a lot of people out there are afraid to get close to their food, or say they don't have time to do the research, or they don't have time to get out there and meet with the farmers. So I think people like you and your company can make a huge impact on that relationship between the consumer and the farmer. You're almost like that middleman educator where people can come to you as a trusting source, and you've done the research, you've done the work, you've gone to the farmers. That takes a little bit of that off of the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people out there doing really good job, right? I mean, there's a lot of excellent producers and excellent farmers and excellent companies doing something similar. To me, that's the people that deserve your business. And I always just think about what you're eating, right? I mean, ask the questions you're afraid to ask. Why is chicken $4 a pound? I mean, how does that even work? I mean, those are the kind of questions that when you get going, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's worth to spend just a tiny little bit more, and it's going to make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Quick question. Is there any other businesses that you have that is under Meat and Bone or the Wagyu Bar brands? Is there any other partners in the horizon that you're thinking to work with? Any other chef, any other brands, or is always, for now, it's always going to be Meat and Bone or Wagyu Bar?
That's it for the most part. I mean, we do have the Get the Cook catering, which is more on the B2B side. We did open a really cool place. It's called Undisclosed, and it is called Undisclosed because we don't really tell people where it is until they get a ticket, and we sell curated experiences. So basically multi-course dinners in a private environment. I'm talking about a 20-seat, we sell by the seat, or we do private dinners, and it's 20, 30 seats, and we bring in great chefs. We actually had Mariano do one, and that was spectacular. And you were there actually, if I remember. And it's a different kind of dining. It's very fine dining, very high end, and it's fun. It's called Undisclosed, and we advertise all the events at undisclosedmiami.com. We are also opening a kitchen concept inside of a brewery in Doral, Florida. It's called Tripping Animals, and those guys have a cool concept around beers. But yeah, we're always thinking and coming up with new ideas, just like you guys.
That's great.
And also, we mentioned before, I've gotten so many compliments on the shirt with the samurai cow, very cool. And I think the marketing is really good with that kind of stuff, because a lot of times it prompts a discussion with somebody. And I found myself really being an ambassador. Like I was kind of explaining everything, and it all started with a comment on about the shirt. Can people get some of the merchandise as well on the website, in addition to all of the great proteins? And I know you've got some cool spices and getting more into some of the hardware as well, like with equipment. Can people buy that stuff on the website as well, or is it just with the meats?
Yeah, we have a small hardware section that we call the Grill Masters Boutique on the website, and we focus on hardware. And to be honest, we sell things that we like. We do bring knives from Japan. We do have the hat that I'm wearing right now, all kinds of shirts. We have the Japanese samurai cow T-shirt that you like, which is inspired on a video game.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I do on my free time. So that's where we came up with that concept and a lot of ideas. And we just try to have fun every day, right? I mean, you got to try to enjoy what you do every day. And I think it reflects on your work.
Absolutely. What about, you mentioned about with the way that you guys are doing some of these other sidebar dinners and experiences. And you're in an area, Miami, where very robust food culture there, a lot of restaurants and stuff like that. Of course, we're coming off of the pandemic. Are you seeing that people are eating in different ways, and it's not always just with going out to your local restaurant? Do you see that continuing to evolve? And then also, do you have any favorite restaurants in the Florida, Miami area?
Well, I'll start with the favorite restaurant. I always recommend this place in downtown Miami. It's called New Kitchen or Arson. I love them. I go there all the time. I think I've met them a couple times, but just delicious Catalan cuisine.
That's the one in downtown?
Yeah, delicious. I highly recommend it. And in terms of eating habits, I think the pandemic forced people to learn to cook. I mean, not being able to go out and grab dinner. A lot of people go out 5 times a week to get dinner. I'm included in there sometimes. It forces us to go back to the kitchen and try to have fun doing it. So you had people trying new ingredients. A lot of people trying things like caviar or fine meats or making their own sushi or poke bowls. So that was fun. And I see people have stuck with it, right? And now people, a couple of days will cook at home, a couple of days will go out. Miami's culinary scene is really blooming. I think right now it's spectacular. I mean, I've been here for 22 plus years, and it's the best it is. I mean, like Casa Mariano, you go there, you'll never have a bad meal. I mean, Mariano is an amazing cook. I love going to that place. So yeah, I'm proud to say that Miami is getting up there with the other big cities in terms of the culinary scene, and people are enjoying it. And I think they're rewarding the chefs who are putting the hard work into it, right? I mean, Miami is known for all the flashy lights and gold steaks and just BS tricks that restaurants play. Yeah, but and money. But now people are starting to figure out like there's more to it. Good food is to be valued, and there's restaurants like Mariano's or the guys in downtown that I just mentioned that are just doing it right. And that's what we try to do every day at the Wagyu Bar and on this coast.
And I think also you guys on your Instagram, a lot of your social media, I feel like there's a lot of really cool kind of inspiring little things because you actually cook a lot of the products. And I always tell people, like, if somebody's intimidated about like using caviar, or they're intimidated about spending a lot of money on a steak, it's like, food, you got to like explore things, try different things. You're never going to know unless you try something. And we were just at this Art Flame Live Fire Social this weekend, and I took some of the sterling caviar and I made some grilled cheese sandwiches with the caviar inside, and it was like so simple. And they were able to just crushing these little sandwiches, and I mean, it was simple. It was just like a lot of just gooey cheddar and mozzarella and this beautiful texture from the toast. But I was like, hey, you know what? Some people might be a little squeamish about eating caviar. Let me put it in a grilled cheese. And it's like, it's okay to try things. And I encourage people, because we have a lot of people that will have come to our classes over the years, and they watch the podcast, they use our online resource. And we tell everybody, it's like, look, you don't have to go and change everything you do. But one way to learn is to just evolve what you're doing, and just try to get, take what you're doing and accent it with some new ingredients, try some new things. And I think that your website really offers just like a plethora of ways for people to evolve their cooking. It's like, there's probably a lot of guys out there that love cooking steaks. It's like, hey, go try a Wagyu. next time. Try to cook a picanha, and that's how you kind of learn. And next thing you know, you're at a party and you're saying, hey, wait till you try this caviar I just got from Meat and Bone, and oh yeah, they deliver. And it's a way for people to not feel intimidated about cooking. And I think you guys have really created a great vehicle that makes it easy for people to do that, because you're not going to go into a local grocery store and find most of those ingredients. You're just not. You're certainly not going to find the quality of the steaks and meats that you would on your website.
Yeah, they're just not built for it. And you're absolutely right. I mean, people, it's experiencing new things. And the biggest thing I tell people is, if you don't know something, ask. I mean, the first thing is, now I'm extremely hungry thanks to your idea of caviar on a grilled cheese. So thanks for that. But outside of that, ask. I mean, and even chefs, I mean, we have big chefs that come to Miami. These guys clearly have a lot of experience. They just don't know anything about beef because nobody taught them ever. And now they're afraid to ask. We don't care. We want people to learn. So we're extremely happy when we get an email or an Instagram message or something saying, hey, I just bought this tri-tip. What the heck is it? How do I cook it? Can you give me some tips? And we'll reply, we'll send videos, we try to share that knowledge, because we learn. I mean, when I went to your barbecue class, I loved it. I learned so many new things that I apply now on the day-to-day basis. And some of the questions were very simple, like, hey, Rich, why do you use this particular spice? And then you gave me an explanation and it stuck with me. And now I use it for everything. And it's those little things. Just ask. And I think that applies to everything in life. Don't be afraid to ask. You only live once. So if you need something, ask for it.
Well, I know we're coming up here on an hour. Is there anything else that you want to cover that we haven't talked about? We definitely want to know what the website and your social media handles, and where, if people want to order the product or they want to see the category, where can they go?
So our website is www.meatandbone.com. It's the N is without the and, so just the letter N. Our Instagram is @meatandbone. We're also on pretty much every social media platform. I would just tell people, encourage them to go out of the norm, right? Don't just go to Costco and buy your steaks as you've always done it. Try something different. Try something new. Go there, be it from us or from somebody else. Just expand your worldview by testing new ingredients, trying new ways of cooking. Like I'll be honest, I had never sous vide a steak until I met you guys. And then I saw you guys do it and I'm like, oh my God. All right. Now I have like 3 sous vide machines that I use for everything.
Yeah, we have that effect on people. They tend to want to go buy things.
Yeah. It can get expensive, but you know what? That's what we work for.
Yeah. Awesome. Yes. And we love, the equipment and the spices, all these things you're mentioning, and the ingredients is really kind of the foundation of that. But from that, if you start with a great product, there's so many different ways that you can kind of change the texture and the flavor. Of course, simplicity is so much easier to do when you have something that it's already great. All you have to do is just not screw it up. But yeah, you guys have really a great resource for both professionals and home cooks. I mean, I think anybody that gets product off your site is going to be really happy.
Yeah, even things like charcoal and wood make a difference. And it's amazing.
Yes,
that's right.
Your ingredients are going to make a difference. I talk and Chris, you know this, like Argentinians are known for their beef. Their beef is actually not that great. What's amazing is their culture and the way they cook. And that really translates, and they'll grab a piece of beef, cook it very slowly over charcoal or quebracho for many, many, many hours. And then you get this amazing taste. And that's almost as important as the ingredients. So when you mix great ingredients and good techniques, you're going to get something even better.
Yeah, I always love when I see Mariano and he's like whipping up some chimichurri, which he gave us a funny story about how they got started. It was actually like somebody's name. Like what was it? What Chris was like Jimmy Jury or something like that was the, I don't know if it's true or not, but it was a great story they gave us. And I was like, I'm just always excited whenever he makes it. Cause it's always so delicious. But yeah, and obviously when you guys came up, we had a fun cookout that night and really just cooked a bunch of meat on the art flame, which was fantastic. and we look forward to doing it again. So thanks so much, Chris, Rachel. Any other additional questions or anything?
I shoot everything away.
I just feel like I have some FOMO. Like you guys have been down to the Wagyu Bar in Miami, and I'm just feeling a bit missed out. So I think
That happens when you don't come to Miami, Rachel.
I guess I'm gonna have to make a trip to Miami.
You will.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I've just got back into the States, so
We'll take care of you, Rachel. Calm down.
I will.
Look at
I
that.
will make a visit.
Yeah, this is probably the hungriest I've been after a podcast. So,
Honestly, I can't wait to go eat right now.
well,
Thank
cool.
you, guys.
Thanks so much,
Awesome. Thank
Luis.
you very much.
We enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you guys again real soon. So, thanks so much.
It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure. Take care, guys.
Have a good day.